Hey everyone, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home. In today's video, I am going to break down my top 10 picks for the best horror movies on 4K Blu-ray that you can own right now. So in this list, we're going to base this off of, audio quality, video quality, how great is this 4K transfer, and talk about the movie itself. Now, a lot of these movies, I think all 10 of these are well worth picking up on any format. They're all great horror movies in one way or another, but these are 10 of the best on 4K. So if you're really curious about what you should maybe be upgrading from a DVD or a Blu-ray copy, you want to choose and spend your money wisely, these are 10 of the best picks to kickstart that 4K horror movie collection that you've been wanting to start. Before we get started, if you are interested in 4K Blu-ray movie collecting, physical media, home theater, any of that stuff, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Help us hit our goal of 100,000 and hit that button right now. And now let's get started with the video. So before we jump into the top 10, I did want to give one honorable mention because I probably could have chosen a few of these movies and I didn't want to pick too many from this set, so it comes in as an honorable mention just outside the top 10, but it is the Universal Classic Monsters 4K collection. If you love black and white 4K discs and you love the Universal Monsters, these are the best that these movies have ever looked in almost 100 years. I think they're better than they probably looked back when they were first played in theaters. They sound better. They've been restored from an audio and video perspective. And if you're really a classic horror fan, this is a box set that you have to have. So wanted to toss this in as an honorable mention because it does deserve being in the video. So now I am going to go in order here from 10 down to number 1, but I will say these are very hard rankings to make because these 10 discs are all very solid. And over the past several years that I've been doing top 10 discs of the year, a lot of these were in the mix for the best discs of the year from any genre. So it's really hard to separate like number 10 from number 1, but I'll try to do my best and give you that top 10 breakdown. So coming in at number 10, we have Arrow Video and their release of Tremors on 4K. If you like some good sci-fi creature horror, some monster horror, first of all, Tremors, a great movie, a lot of fun to watch. A young Kevin Bacon leads the cast, and Arrow Video has put out an excellent 4K transfer here. I've reviewed it on my channel. I've talked about that in depth, so if you do want to find my review, it's on my channel. Just do a quick search for Tremors 4K. So I'm not going to go too in-depth on that, but this box set is also really nice if you can get the limited edition. It has a booklet, it has a poster, and then this does have a new 4K restoration from the original negative. So really good job by Arrow, and if you do love that sort of monster creature horror, Tremors on 4K is an absolute must-have and a big upgrade over your Blu-ray, DVD, or I know a lot of horror fans still rock the VHS. Sure, that's really nostalgic, but if you're upgrading from VHS, wait till you see this on 4K. Now coming in at number 9 from Kino Lorber, we have the 4K release of Misery. Now this is a little lower on the list because Scream Factory did already have a very good Blu-ray release of Misery, but if you are looking for a decent upgrade, this one fixes a lot of the color that I think was off in the previous Blu-rays, so it makes it look a lot better with the HDR, and it has a great 4K transfer, plus some special features and decent packaging. So it is a very nice visual upgrade, plus the movie's great, one of the top 2 Stephen King movies of all time, I'd say. Some people may even consider it the best adaptation of one of his books, considering The Shining wasn't a great one-to-one adaptation. So this might be the most faithful Stephen King movie, but a great movie, a great 4K release. Props to Kino Lorber for this. And if you are looking to upgrade, Misery is definitely one to take a look at. Again, have a full 4K review on my channel if you want to dive in more depth on the differences between Blu-ray and 4K and see some comparisons. Now coming in at number 8, we've got a Shout Factory or Scream Factory. They're sort of one and the same release, and I chose Halloween. Now I really could have chosen like Halloween, the first Halloween here, Halloween 2, 3, 4, or 5. Really any of the 4K releases that Scream Factory put out of Halloween this past October are significant upgrades. Halloween 3 actually might be my favorite of the bunch, but just as a representative of that whole set, I chose the first Halloween movie. It is actually an improved scan even if you are upgrading a 4K copy. This is definitely the 4K version to own, and it is a real nice upgrade over Blu-ray and DVD. So again, I have done comparisons of this on the channel. I've done full 4K reviews. You can break that down, but I do also love the artwork and the special features that are on this. So it makes it a very worthy upgrade, even outside of just AV quality, which is why it won Best Artwork of the Year during my Physical Media Awards for 2021. Now, following up some John Carpenter with some more John Carpenter here at number 7, we've got the 4K release of The Thing. Now, this is a little lower down in the list because, again, there was a pretty good Blu-ray release of this from Shout Factory, but Universal decided to put out their own 4K of this. And again, this is an area where, much like Misery, I saw a huge improvement with the HDR and the way this was color graded. Plus, being 35mm, being scanned at a true 4K scan, makes it a great experience on the format. So although it may not pack as many special features and sort of the behind the scenes stuff that the Scream Factory Blu-ray did, this is a very, very good visual presentation, and one that you certainly should consider upgrading, because I do think it's a more natural and faithful look and feel to this movie. Must be something about the snow, because I had an issue with Misery on Blu-ray and I had an issue with The Thing on Blu-ray, and just the way that the snow gets too blue tinted sometimes, and that's sort of solved here. It's much more white than blue, and HDR helps balance all of that. It just is a much better presentation. So if you're looking to upgrade, this is certainly one that you should be considering for your horror movie collection. Now, coming in at number 6, I've got the full box set here from Universal again, but I'm picking one from this set, and it is Psycho. So this is the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection. Psycho is a part of this collection, and it is probably my favorite black and white 4K film transfer that I've seen. It is extremely well done, and the HDR, believe it or not, really does help with black or white movies. I try to preach this every time I do a review, but the blacks are so much darker, the whites are much nicer, the gray levels, black levels, everything just looks a lot better and more balanced in black and white when you have that added color depth. So again, full 4K review of this on my channel, and Psycho is actually available to buy as a standalone copy, as well as some of these others. So you don't have to buy the box set. You could just grab Psycho, but if you haven't seen the movie in a long time, or you're still rocking your VHS or DVD or even your Blu-ray copy, it's a brand new experience when you watch Psycho on 4K. So that one's number 6 on the list. Now, breaking in at number 5 is more Stephen King, and it is The Shining on 4K. For a long time, this was one of my reference discs, and it is still very, very good, although I will say some others have passed it since. It's still easily in the top 5 for the horror genre when it comes to 4K. Excellent film transfer here. The 4K looks awesome. The audio is upgraded, and that's great. And this is a movie that honestly didn't have that great a Blu-ray or DVD release. Nobody had sort of put out a special edition Blu-ray or anything too special. So this is maybe the biggest leap from Blu-ray to 4K on this list, and it's definitely one that you need to pick up, considering, you know, there wasn't a real special edition of this before. Highly, highly, highly recommend grabbing The Shining, and honestly any other of Stanley Kubrick's films on 4K, because they all look fantastic. Now, following up on The Shining, this one's kind of fitting to come in here at number 4, but this is actually one of the newest movies on the list. It actually is definitely the newest movie on the list, and that's Dr. Sleep. Now, a newer movie, shot digitally, but an excellent 4K visual. True 4K here, 4K digital intermediate, no upscaling, none of that crap. It looks awesome. Warner Brothers did a great job with the transfer. Plus, the movie is so underrated. I think this is one that you definitely need to get on 4K. Sure, the Blu-ray would look fine, but the HDR here and that true 4K digital intermediate makes for a much better experience on 4K. And I like to highlight it because the director here is great, Mike Flanagan. He did Haunting of Hill House, he did Midnight Mass, he did Haunting of Bly Manor. He's done a ton of great stuff in the horror genre, and he gets a lot of attention for his, shows and his series, but I think Dr. Sleep deserved a lot more love, and it is a pretty faithful adaptation to the book. So if you like Stephen King and you like his stuff, you're going to love Dr. Sleep on 4K. Now we're into the top 3, and honestly, any of these next 3 could have taken the top spot. It was really, really hard to decide on which was which. But for number 3, I'm going with a release from Blue Underground, and I'm going with Zombie. Now, Blue Underground as a label has tons of great kind of cult horror, exploitation type movies. I could have included a few of their others, Dead and Buried. I could have included like The Final Countdown, although I don't know if that's so much horror as sci-fi. I could have included Maniac, although that one's a little bit ugly to begin with. They do a great job on the 4K transfers, especially making really ugly stuff either look less ugly or look beautiful. And that's what they've done here with Zombie. This is a movie that's never really gotten a great amount of attention. In the Blue Underground restoration, they went back to the original 35mm camera negative, added Dolby Vision HDR, added Dolby Atmos, 16-bit color, everything. Just nailed this release. And I was so shocked that a movie of this age, and probably one that didn't have the greatest source and probably wasn't kept up to, restoration standards for a long time, looked so good. This is what first turned me on to Blue Underground and first made me realize how great a label they are. So if you're looking for some really fun classic zombie, this is an Italian movie, but if you're looking for something fun to watch, this is an excellent 4K transfer, and I really do think if you haven't seen it yet, it'll blow you away. So check out my review. I got a full review on the channel for this one if you want some more screenshots and comparisons, but trust me, it's one you're going to want to own. Now at number 2, and I really wish I could have made this number 1, but I just think there is a movie that looks better. But I do have Jaws. And now, I've said a lot of times I don't consider Jaws to be a horror movie. I think Jaws is much more a character drama that just happens to include some horror elements. It's much less horror to me than a lot of other stuff that's come out. It's, certainly the shark is scary, but when you talk horror, Jaws is technically horror, and I felt like if I didn't include it here, I'd hear it in the comments because it is my favorite movie of all time. So the 4K release of Jaws is incredible. The best the movie's ever looked, and that's saying a lot because its Blu-ray release was also stunning and restored fully. But when you take it to 4K, you add in HDR and you add in that true 4K negative scan, it blows you away. I swear it couldn't have looked this good in 1975 with some of the film prints they had going into theaters. This is going to be a brand new experience for you watching it. And try to watch it on the biggest screen you can because it honestly does. It holds up. I've seen this movie in 35mm on the big screen. Let me tell you, this 4K disc is better than that. And of course, in my opinion, this is the greatest movie that's ever been made. And so I always have to recommend it. If you haven't seen it, don't even tell me because I don't know if I can talk to you if you haven't watched Jaws. So before you comment and tell me you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back and tell me why it's the greatest movie ever made because I think you'll agree with me. But definitely one you need to have on 4K in your collection. Excellent restoration work by Universal and a must-own 4K disc. So that leaves us with the top spot, number 1. And honestly, this one was pretty easy because anytime I think horror movies on 4K, I keep coming back to this disc because it blew me away. The same way that Zombie blew me away because you don't expect this from an older movie. But this took things to the next level and it's one of the best restorations I've ever seen. And that is Synapse Films' release of Suspiria. Now, first of all, if you haven't seen this movie, it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made. And there is a remake that came out a few years ago, which is actually very good in its own right, but you really need to watch the original. It is just crafted so amazingly well. It is such a good movie. The cinematography and the camera shots are incredible. The plot, the story is excellent. And it's Dario Argento. I mean, this is his best movie, and he had a ton of great horror movies. So Suspiria is one you have to watch. But this transfer here from Synapse Films, they went back. This is the first time it's ever been done in 4K. It has a new Dolby Atmos remix. It was restored with the supervision and approval of the film's director of photography, which is super important because of the way this film was shot. It's an incredibly visually interesting film, and they had to get that right. And this is a 4K restoration, true 4K, from the uncut, uncensored 35mm Italian camera negative with the original theatrical 4.0 English sound as well. So you have everything original that you want. You have upgraded Dolby Atmos if you want it. You have an absolutely amazing 4K scan with beautiful colors and Dolby Vision color grading, and it's just the finest example of 4K transfers and 4K Blu-ray that I think you can own in the horror genre. So I'm sure you hardcore horror fans out there, many of you probably have this or are looking forward to getting it. I would highly recommend it. And honestly, even if you're not a horror fan, this is such a well done movie outside of the horror genre that I think you should own it. It's a very important movie in film history. It's a classic. It is critically loved by many people. And, you know, even if you don't appreciate horror much, I think you'll appreciate the backstory here, the plot of this movie, and just the way it was shot and crafted. So I have to give Synapse huge props. They are a fairly small company, especially compared to Universal, Warner Brothers, Paramount, all these big guys who are putting out great transfers. And honestly, even compared to Arrow Video and Shout Factory, they are probably smaller than Blue Underground, but they did an excellent job with this release, and they deserve all the props for it, which makes it #1 on my top 10 horror movie 4K Blu-rays that you should own. So that is it for the video. I really enjoyed doing this because I love horror movies. That's my #1 genre. I love horror movies, horror themed TV shows, series. I'm currently watching a show right now called Archive 81 on Netflix, which is very cool because it actually features a guy who his job is restoring VHS tapes in physical media, and there's actually a lot of call outs to physical media and VHS and DVD, and he wears a Criterion Collection shirt at one point. So if you're into physical media and you like horror, definitely check that show out on Netflix. But I do just love the horror genre, so this was a really fun video to make, and hopefully this gives you all some great ideas, whether you're a hardcore horror collector, somebody who's looking to upgrade an older collection of VHS or DVD, or you're just looking to jump into the 4K game and want to experiment with some horror movies. This is a great starting point. So I'll include a list of links to all 10 of these and where you can buy them on Amazon. That helps support my channel if you do use those links. So if you find yourself wanting to buy any of these, I appreciate your support by clicking my link down in the description and purchasing through Amazon, although these can be found at many different independent video stores as well. So please shop around if you have to. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We just crossed 50,000 followers on TikTok, which is insane. Who would have guessed? But I got content going on all the time over there, but also tons of content on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe and have your notifications on so you never miss a video. And anyways, just watching, just getting to this point of the video, watching, liking, commenting, helps build the community, helps the channel grow. So I appreciate that over everything. So have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you all soon.